athletics on internet radio and webcast. It is our goal to highlight student athletes throughout our great state. We are scheduled to broadcast over 300 games this season, and you can find us broadcasting at high school football stadiums, basketball and volleyball courts, baseball and softball diamonds, next to the wrestling mats, at lacrosse fields, and the soccer pitch. If you would like to know more about how to get your favorite school on radio or webcast, contact us by email at coach@indianasrn.org. Coach has enjoyed his time with you during the Sportszone show. Thank you again. And if you're enjoying this show or would like to sponsor any of our broadcasts, you can contact us via email at coach@indianasrn.org. Thank you again for listening and watching Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. And don't forget to join us Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for the Sports Zone.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's the Sports Zone with Keith Myers and the Indiana SRN sports team, made possible by Morales Group, College Hunks and Movers, the IHSAA, and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
It is the Sports Zone on this beautiful day. Thank you very much for joining us on the hotline from Illinois, Tim Hilton. Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm good, Keith. How are you?
I'm doing well. Bright and early this morning, and Tim is associate with us at Indiana SRN. We're beginning a new show that will be airing soon, Behind the Stripes. He's also helps his wife with Officially Human, and you guys now have a hobby, but also a job of making sure that people know that officials are human.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Brenda started Officially Human in 2019, and I'm fortunate to be able to, help her on the sidelines with her project. And, I've gotten to know a lot of officials over the years because of her roles in sports. And so it's great.
Let's talk a little bit before we talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about your session with Illinois basketball. Me being a Boilermaker, I sometimes we're on the same page because our teams disappoint us. How long have you been an Illinois fan, and what brings you attraction other than you live in the great city of Illinois? What's that attraction? Have you always grown up to be a Big Ten basketball fan, especially the Fighting Illini?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Danville, which is just a stone's throw from Champaign-Urbana. My dad, he bleeds orange and blue, and so I caught it early. And he's a basketball nut, a junkie, and so I grew up that way. And the Illini were, the team that he is closest to and still follows every day to this day. So just lots of times going to see them play, and all the way back to the Eddie Johnson days in the 70s, and all the teams over the years, and of course the rivalries that they had with, a lot of the great coaches from Lou Henson to Gene Cady and Bobby Knight, and, all the great rivalries between Illinois and Indiana, Illinois, Purdue. So, yeah, we used to watch not only the Illinois broadcast, but we could also pick up broadcasts from WTTW in Indiana and watch games on there too. So, growing up in Illinois in the Midwest, the Big Ten and Big Ten basketball are a part of my life. And, now with Brenda working at the Big Ten, it fits in nicely with what I like to spend time on.
Yeah, TV4 had Chuck Marlowe, and if you talk about a homer as a broadcaster, Chuck did a nice job making sure that everybody knew that IU wasn't getting any calls. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I would think if you talk to my dad today, he would say he's rooting for two teams, the Fighting Illini and whoever is playing Indiana. Those are the teams.
we better get off this subject quick because my wife is a Hoosier, so I got to be careful with that. You talk about Illinois though, and the passion when you were a kid. I think our parents got us to a point where athletics was very important, and everything revolved around that. Little League baseball, whatever that might be. When we were a kid in the backyard, we wanted to hit that last second shot, and it's developed into a passion of what we both love, and that's sports, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's sports is such a place for people to not only get away and do something fun, but teach you about teamwork and responsibility. Respect for your teammates, and participating in a way that translates over to the working world or what have you. So sports is fun, but it's also something that you can really learn a lot from.
How hard is it for you not to have baseball? I am a huge baseball fan. As we talked off our air, I wanted to be a major league umpire, and I missed baseball so much. It would be at times, Deb and I would go out and just drive by a Little League ballpark and spend most of the morning watching kids play baseball. Is baseball affecting you a little bit that way? Are you watching any of the Japanese baseball league or Korea baseball on ESPN2?
I haven't switched over to, that world, the overseas world, but yeah, I'm missing baseball terribly. I was not a good baseball player as a kid, but I've been a lifelong Cubs fan. Was thrilled to get the 108-year monkey off of our back in 2016. But I've always been just a baseball nut, like to travel to major league stadiums around the country, even some minor league parks. And, in 2001, I took my 13-year-old son, then 13, on a baseball trip, and we hit 7 major league stadiums in 8 days. And it was just an amazing trip up the East Coast and into Canada. And it just speaks to the fact that I'm just a baseball guy. I love baseball. I love the strategy of the game. I love the National League game. And so, while the Cubs is my diehard passion, I love baseball in general for sure.
Speaking of that, with now what we're doing a little bit, getting the show ready, the sports world is revolving, and the fans are getting a little bit more hostile. The officiating is getting less, more attractive. What, in your opinion, what was the turning point where things got really out of balance?
Gosh, that's a tough question to answer. I think for sure, having grown up as a fan, I was definitely one of the guys yelling at the officials back in the day and, not too long ago. But I think in some ways video review has also kind of complicated the issue. And I think it's created an environment of, the fans now expect that with video, there's no way any call could ever be wrong, or why can't we just review everything? And so I think we're still in a place where we're trying to figure out how to make video work well in every sport and really help, the officials, as opposed to, being something that either takes too long to review and it frustrates the fans, or the fans see a video or a replay and they think they know the call and then it doesn't go their way. So I think video is complicated things in some ways.
Super slow-mo is the worst thing that could ever happen to the game of basketball or any sport. I do not like it. I think that's ridiculous. If you're going to review, you should review at the same speed that the official or the umpire had that same look, because super slow-mo and all, now they even box things step by step. I think that's just not fair for the official.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when they're replaying it slow-mo and they're able to go forward and rewind, go back and forth and look at how the ball passed and maybe it touched the fingertip or it didn't, obviously the official doesn't get the benefit of any of that.
We're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the show that we're working on, a podcast called Behind the Stripes, and Tim will be joining us with that. So we'll take this 2-minute break. We'll be back after this. You're listening to the Sportszone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Chimney Solutions, Indiana, 317-757-6979. The team here at Chimney Solutions travels throughout the Indianapolis area, making chimney and fireplace maintenance as easy, affordable, and stress-free as possible. Whether your chimney system is in need of a simple sweeping or some major repair work, you can count on the Chimney Safety Institute of America certified team at Chimney Solutions to take great care of you. Call us today at 317-757-6979. Chimney Solutions, Indiana.
Hey everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sportszone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern, Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Back on the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. You can contact us anytime at coach@indianasrn.org. Love to hear from you. If you like the show or if you like to see improvements like a new host, please let us know. coach@indianasrn.org. We talk about this show has been now on the air for about a year and a half. We have now gone Monday through Friday, as you know, Tim, because of the COVID-19.
Sure.
Now we're about 12 weeks into this. We've had over 250 guests, and it's just been kind of neat to reminisce. And we talk with a lot of officials, coaches, athletic directors, principals, commissioners, and we started brainstorming. I met Brenda online a few weeks ago, and all of a sudden we're starting a new podcast called Behind the Stripes in June, and you're going to be part of that. Talk a little bit about that adventure and how excited you are to join up with Indiana SRN.
Well, it's really a great opportunity, and we so appreciate the partnership that you've offered us to have a platform to talk about officiating. I think, that we found in the work that Brenda has done so far that officials really want a voice, and there isn't always an opportunity for them to have a place to talk about the issues that they face. And so some of the work that we've done has revealed, some of the topics that we think would be really important to raise and talk about. And so, we're excited to have Behind the Stripes be a platform to, really just talk about officiating. It's something that, really isn't on everybody's mind all the time, except when they're sitting in the stands yelling at the officials. And so, we'd like to get really behind the scenes on some things that people may not know about the profession and things that may be good or maybe need work. And so really kind of reveal some things that we think not only are things that need to be worked on, but also are things that are really being grappled with by various athletic associations or schools or ADs or conferences. There's a lot of different folks that, are focused on officiating, but we think talking about some of those issues is going to help things.
I think it's amazing when you talk to a fan, they don't realize that official also has a full-time job most of the time, that he has to have, he's got to be in shape. As a female official, that is a mom. As a male official, that is a dad. And they have everyday concerns just like you do. When they step on the floor, they have to forget all about those for that hour and a half to 2 hour, and then done off the floor, and you go back and be mom, be dad, maybe be teacher, and it's really difficult. I did it for 25 years. I got to work some college basketball. I got to work a lot of high school basketball. And, you know, it causes you to think sometimes why in the world you put that striped shirt on. And I don't think, because I retired so many years ago, I didn't have the same hassle as today's officials. And a lot of that is going back to what we talked about in the first segment. We didn't have replay back in those days. It was either a good call or a bad call, or I missed the call.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the video has complicated things, as we discussed, but I think, you know, folks don't realize that sometimes the officials are missing events for their own family or their own children in order to referee a contest that is for other folks. So, you know, that's definitely a great point and something that we would like people to know. And, you know, the effort around Officially Human and Behind the Stripes is to humanize these officials and, you know, make sure people understand that they're people too, and they have lives just like you said.
That show will begin in June. You'll find on several websites, and as we get closer to that date, we'll have a press release out so people will know that. And it's just not in the state of Indiana. We're talking about branching out to the Midwest states, and we're really kind of excited about some of the guest lineup that we already have. And, you know, Tim, as we walk through this, the more and more I dig into this, is there's so much involvement, and it really begins with the school, the two schools that are going to play that game, and how they hire that official, to the popcorn vendor and how they can make this game much better as well.
Yeah, there's so much behind the scenes that people may not know. And to have the officials show up, there's a lot of work there, and there's a lot of work that they do to even be able to be at the contest in terms of, you know, getting certified, getting trained, ongoing and regular training that they receive. You know, there's always points of emphasis in every sport throughout a season or at the beginning of the season. So there's things they need to be aware of and focusing on. And so we really think that, you know, this opportunity to get these issues out there is going to be great.
Talk about your favorite game that you ever watched, and how that changed maybe your thinking of athletics or sports. Can you think of one or two games that, wow, this is why I love following sports in either high school, college, or professional?
Well, you know, when I was a kid, or actually when I was in 20-something, you know, I used to go down to Danville back home to see the Topper Classic. It was a Catholic high school that Shalarman that held a tournament every year around Thanksgiving, I believe. And they expanded it from single A schools, which was how Illinois was structured back then. It was a round robin of 4 single A schools, and then they added double A schools. And so they added the double A, and Danville Public High School was a double A school. And they had the opportunity to get some Chicago teams to come down. So King would come down, Farragut, you know, Luther South, other teams like that came from the Chicago area. And one of the games I remember going to was back when Farragut played Peoria Manual, and Farragut had Kevin Garnett and Ronnie Fields on their team, and then Peoria Manual had Sergio McLean, and his dad, you know, was the coach, Wayne McLean. And so one time, one of the plays in that game, which I think Peoria Manual ended up winning, but one of the plays was Ronnie Fields got an outlet pass and went down the court. Sergio McLean stepped in to take the charge, and literally Ronnie Fields went over the top of Sergio McLean and slam dunked the ball. And Sergio just looked at his dad and kind of shrugged his shoulders, and they went to the other end.
Yeah.
And I think it was plays like that, things that you saw as a kid. You know, obviously I was never going to be that guy with that talent, but you see things like that, and it just increases your passion to watch these athletes that are just amazing and do things that are special. And I think that's what's special about sports, is you're you're probably going to see something that you've never seen before in a game. And it could happen on a Tuesday night, just a regular old night, and you see something that never happened before, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, I just wonder if that Kevin Garnett would ever be any good in basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was crazy to think that we saw him play as a high schooler, and then next year he was in the NBA.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, Tim, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. And you can get behind these stripes right here on Indiana SRN starting in June. Tim, thank you so much. We'll take a break. We'll be back with a lot more for you right after this. You're listening to Indiana SRN and the Sports Zone.
Chimney Solutions, Indiana, 317-757-6979. The team here at Chimney Solutions travels throughout the Indianapolis area, making chimney and fireplace maintenance as easy, affordable, and stress-free as possible. Whether your chimney system is in need of a simple sweeping or some major repair work, you can count on the Chimney Safety Institute of America certified team at Chimney Solutions to take great care of you. Call us today at 317-757-6979. Chimney Solutions, Indiana.
Hey, everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sportszone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern, Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
We're back. Thank you very much for joining us. It is Indiana SRN, and it is the Sports Zone. And on the hotline, Chris Kauffman. He is one of the assistant commissioners of the Indiana High School Athletic Association. And Chris, in 1984, you were a 8 varsity letterman. Wow, at Northwestern, huh?
Well, first of all, Keith, thanks for having me, and I'm glad to talk with you today. And it seems like that was hundreds of years ago, back in the day. But I was a 3-sport athlete at Northwestern High School in Kokomo, Indiana. And I wouldn't trade those days for anything. People say, how'd you play 3 sports? And today, playing 3, there's very few that do it. There are some that still can accomplish it, but it teaches you a lot. There's a lot of good crossover in each sport. I think we did it probably because we love sports, but we also enjoyed being around our friends.
Robert Falcons calls you Mr. Northwestern High School. That's what he told me to tell you. So.
Yeah, well, Robert, mercy.
Yeah.
My dad was a coach, and growing up playing for your dad is difficult. I think people may not understand that completely, but playing for your father is difficult. The expectation level, but I wouldn't trade any of it. I wouldn't redo any of it any differently. Phenomenal high school experience. Northwestern's a great school. And growing up in Kokomo, semi-country, you're out in the country, but it's also a city, and so you got a little bit of both. It was a terrific childhood.
Yeah, and then you help your dad coach baseball at Cathedral, because that's where we met. I remember the same exact date we met because you were playing rebuff, and I was behind a plate calling balls and strikes.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that's what's great about sport in general is the people you meet, people you play against. Some of my longtime competitors growing up, are now athletic directors at schools, and they're all people, and we know each other since we were young. And that's the great thing about sport and athletics. There's many great things, but for me, I love the people part of it. And having coached at Cathedral, you meet a lot of people, but then those kids that you coach, you touch their lives. They go out, they do things, they stay in touch. Oh my gosh, there's just so many of them that I run into here and there, and we stay close. We still connect. We jump on phone calls. We go to reunions. Phenomenal. And I think that's what what it's all about.
Talk a little bit about when you worked for the Indiana-Kentucky All-Star, because we missed that game this year,
Yes.
as we missed so much. But talk a little bit about that, because I think that got you really to administration of getting you one step closer to where you are today.
It did. It was one of those. I started in 1993 with the Indiana All-Stars. Was it 93, 90, somewhere in that neighborhood. I spent about 10 years with the All-Stars, and I'll tell you what, it was very rewarding. Now, I came at it from I knew Mr. Aikman, but more than that, Joe Gentry was the sports information director of the Indiana All-Stars at the time in the early 90s. And Joe and I were good friends. Joe was my sports information director in college. I worked in his office, writing articles, submitting newspaper stats, etc., doing stats at games in college. So then when I graduated from college and got my first job at Cathedral High School, I traveled all over the state doing statistics. And we did computer stats in 1990. So I may have been one of the first ones in high school to do computer stats during a game, because they just didn't do it. They did it all by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would do the stats for whatever game we were doing, deliver them to both locker rooms, and people said, "What the heck is this? And why are you giving it to the opponent?" And I said, "Everybody gets them. It's their numbers. This is the game." And that led to doing the Big Ten tournaments in town, and then I did the Indiana All-Stars. And when I started with the All-Stars, I just did stats to start with, and then a year later, the NCAA changed the rules, and Joe was at a college, and colleges can't have that interaction with those high school kids with the All-Stars at that time. So they needed to hire somebody to do it. And Mr. Aikman I was fortunate enough for Mr. Pat Aikman to hire me to help with the All-Stars. Phenomenal experience. Love the All-Stars. Again, it's those connections you meet with people. And back in the day, and I say back in the day, the 90s, it used to be a 2-week experience. And so we would report to Greencastle, Indiana at the hotel. And, you lived with those kids for 2 weeks. And so you got to know them very well. The Zellers are still, real close friends of mine, because I drove him around Indiana doing interviews all over the place for 2 weeks. You get to know somebody pretty good.
Yeah. Then in 2012, I think it is, in June, you became one of the commissioners of the Indiana High School Athletic Association. A lot of people don't know this, but you are in charge of tennis, both boys and girls, and then you oversee something close to me. You oversee the IHSAA Champions Network, and we work very well together that way, and that's how our relationship even grew and stronger bond.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Keith. And that's where we did meet, and we met when you were umpiring, but we reconnected for that for sure. And coming to the IHSAA was a tough decision. I was at a high school. I loved working at Cathedral High School. I coached baseball and football. Baseball for part of it, football for the entire 16 years I was there, and I enjoyed football. I was an administrator, and so making that transition to the association was not necessarily real easy at the beginning. I came to the IHSAA as the director of communications, a position that fit me very well, and came to work for Blake Ress and Company there, and loved it. Absolutely loved it from day one. I was fortunate enough in 2012 to be promoted to assistant commissioner, and I was flattered to be able to do what you love, and then to add some more things that you love to it is what being an assistant commissioner afforded me. I was obviously in charge of all the communications, which included the Champions Network, which has really blossomed. And I give a lot of people credit for that. There was some early thinking that we did early on, and it's really paid off now. We really set that up, even more than 10 years ago with a vision. and that vision has now come full circle. But we want it to be a total network, and now Shanahan oversees that part of it. And I will tell you, he's doing a great job, and he's taking it to the next level, and that's exactly what we wanted. So thanks for bringing that up. That is a neat thing, and I think people really enjoy it.
Yeah, and us being part of that with the affiliate really helped us grow our business. And, now that we're having the internet radio stations and now 4 webcast stations and the opportunity to do some tournaments for the network, it's a lot of fun. Let's go back, though, if we can. Let's go back reverse, as you have a son named Blake. I started a CYO league at Horizon on Sunday afternoon, and every Sunday, mom, dad, sister, grandma, grandpa went and watched Blake play. I remember those days. Blake now is a big-time football player. Reflect that, because you repeated exactly what your dad did for you.
Yes, to a degree. I didn't coach Blake growing up. He preferred to not have me coach, and I didn't put any of that pressure on him and said, we'll do whatever you want to do. But growing up, absolutely. I mean, it's a family, as sports are for everybody. It's a family adventure. And Blake growing up loved to play basketball. So we would play CYO basketball every year, and the whole family comes to every game, and it turns that day into a game, and then dinner, and you spend all that time with the family. And I think that's what's great about sport, and that's great about what he did. Blake's grown up through the years, and he has since given up basketball, but he absolutely loves football. He is a freshman, getting ready to finish his first year here next week at DePauw University. Had a pretty good fall, had some injuries, but he'll have a good career, and he'll do what he wants to do. But he absolutely loves DePauw. Graduated from Cathedral, had a good high school career there, and before moving on to DePauw, and he has a new coach in Brett Neitz. He's looking forward to that this coming year, and hopefully we can figure out a way with all this going on to resume to some sort of normalcy in sport.
And then, of course, your daughter Katie is also pretty active.
Yes, she is. She was Athlete of the Year at Cathedral when she was a senior. Played basketball and threw the shot put and discus, and was a manager for the football team. And so she was a 3-sport athlete at Cathedral. She pretty much did everything. I mean, her softball and her softball and basketball were 2 biggest, and then obviously the track. But she also she wanted to be a trainer. So she helped out with the football team and was a student trainer, and then went on to St. Louis University, where she decided to take a different career path and go nursing, and then chose a different career path from that. And she used her nursing background to do sales, and she's currently out in the workforce, so to speak, right now. It's a little tenuous because nobody's buying anything, so she's not doing a whole lot, but she's out in the workforce in sales, in medical sales. So yes, we're proud of both our kids. They both work hard, and my wife, they get it from my wife, because my wife was a former Indiana All-Star. 1984 from Warren Central. They were state runner-up that year. They lost to Crown Point in overtime, and she remembers her high school years fondly too. So I attribute all that to their mom. She's a fantastic lady.
I was going to say that. I was going to take a break, but you did it for me, so I appreciate it. Chris, we're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, we got a lot more for you.
Very good.
It is the Sports Zone. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back after this 2-minute timeout.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Hey everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sports Zone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Chimney Solutions, Indiana, 317-757-6979. The team here at Chimney Solutions travels throughout the Indianapolis area, making chimney and fireplace maintenance as easy, affordable, and stress-free as possible. Whether your chimney system is in need of a simple sweeping or some major repair work, you can count on the Chimney Safety Institute of America certified team at Chimney Solutions to take great care of you. Call us today at 317-757-6979. Chimney Solutions, Indiana.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It is the Sports Zone. Chris Kauffman joins us. He's the Assistant Commissioner of the Indiana High School Athletic Association. And Chris, we talked about the Champions Network. Indiana SRN just signed a deal with the IPS athletic directors, and we will be doing IPS athletics.tv this year for the fall and winter. Looking forward to that. To talk a little bit about that rotation a little bit and how that will help the total coverage for the whole entire city, and also those kids get some state recognitions as well.
Well, I think you mentioned it right at the end. I think the most important thing, all of us do what we do to give recognition to those deserving student athletes. That's why I entered the business, even when I did back in the day and did sports information. It was about the student athlete. And I thank you for what you've done and what you're going to do. And I do think it provides great coverage for those kids that may not otherwise get it. I think it's important because those kids spend a lot of time at what they do at their craft. They work hard and getting those on there. There's a lot of people that look at it the other direction. It's, I want to watch everything, which is great. We love fans, but remember that our number one goal is to provide it for student athletes. And I think that's a big key in the whole thing. I think our expansion of that has allowed more opportunities, both audio, video, webcasting. Television's a pretty expensive venture, but we all grew up with television. We'll still continue to do TV for as long as it's around. But I think the video webcasting has really taken all this to a new level, and watching kids play. And even in our day that we're in now with our COVID-19 issues, the great thing about webcasting is you can still watch those kids. And when we get back to playing, if we're not at full strength with fans and that sort of thing, there's going to be people that are going to be able to watch people play, and I think that's an important aspect.
Talk a little bit about the announcement a week ago or so. The July 1st looks like we're going to expand, and it looks like there might be some glimmer and hope. I know we don't want to get too far ahead, but does it look like the fall season might be able to go with football, volleyball?
Yeah, it's a tough call right now. There's a lot of things being discussed out on the sporting stage right now. Especially in the high school arena. I speak every week to many of the states around us: Ohio, Kentucky, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, and we all discuss. We all have the same questions, and we're all looking at things a little differently. We've tried to make accommodations. We're trying to figure out, what this is going to look like. I mean, there's a part of it of what we don't know is what we don't know, and so at some point there's going to be a little bit of a leap of faith, I think, at every level from professional sport on down. But I do think it will start to provide a little clarity of how we do it as we get a little closer to it. I don't know that anybody has those answers right now, including professional sport on down. But I do think we will figure it out. We'll figure out what it is that it's going to take, and then we'll make the maneuvers to make it happen. but there's a lot of things being discussed, Keith. I mean, all the way from shifting some sports, their traditional season to a different season, to maybe start off with. I'll just take baseball or softball, for instance. There's a few states that are discussing moving those to the fall. They're outside sports. They're virtually non-contact sports, so therefore perhaps they can be played earlier. So there is some merit to that thinking, but there's a lot of logistics from if you do that, what you have to do with the rest of your sports. So there's a lot of discussion still forthcoming. I don't know that we'll ever get to that point where we do move sport, but it's something that is, I mean, everything's on the table, as they say. We're looking at everything. And I think you have to, because we're in unprecedented, uncharted waters right now.
Right. Well, that's why you get to pay the big bucks, and you just tell me where to go, and we'll set up the camera. We'll be ready to go.
Absolutely. It's not as easy as what some folks would imagine.
No.
It may not be as difficult either, but the bottom line is there is a lot of logistics. And when we make decisions, even before all this happened, a lot of people would say, well, I wonder why in the hell they did that, or what the heck was the reason behind doing that. And the reason is because there's a lot of factors, and you have to take everything into account. And our number one priority is the student athlete, and that's where our decisions are based.
And you and I both know I'm tired of sitting in a studio. I love doing this show, but I'd rather be outside doing some other things. But you know that, but that's okay.
Absolutely. And, you're not alone on that. I think I've talked to a lot of people that are that way. And, they've talked to some states that they're worried that fans won't come out and watch. And I take a completely different view of that. I think the fans will not only return, I think they want to return. So I'm going to take the half full approach to that for now and wait and see how it is. I mean, I certainly think people are going to be cautious. They're going to be more cautious than they ever have been, but I think they want to get out.
Yeah, finishing that thought, one of the things that our schools now that are involved, especially with webcasts, athletics directors thought we were going to take away the crowd, and all of a sudden they're getting bigger crowds because now they see it, now they want to be part of it live, which is really kind of cool. And I think that mindset of us taking away fans is now diminishing a little bit because they see we're adding people to the seats, which is win-win for everybody.
It is. And, that's been a long time discussed, often disagreed upon concept. And I've always been of the belief that any coverage, radio, television, internet, only helps sport grow. And there's a lot of people that believe that it takes away. And I've just never been of that mind. I think if you put a good product on, you get people to be able to see that product.
Mm-hmm.
It makes all the difference in the world, and I think you're seeing that. And there are some games that if they don't draw well, people want to attribute it to television or radio or any broadcasting. But the bottom line is, I'm not sure they were coming to that game anyway. So you have to look at all the factors, but there's no question. We monitor viewership and our ratings and that sort of thing. And they've only gone up, and I think that's a tribute to everybody involved and a good vision.
Chris, we thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very busy man today. Thanks for spending some time with us, and we'll see each other during the football season, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Always happy to help, Keith. Keep up the great work, and those of you listening out there, let's get back to sport, and let's have some fun. So, Keith, thank you very much.
You bet. We'll take a break. We'll be back with a lot more right after this. Hey everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sportszone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern, Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Well, as we wrap up the day, we thank you very much for joining us on Indiana SRN. Keith Myers on the Sportszone. On the hotline now is Dan Neitz, the new basketball coach at Covenant Christian. Be coaching girls varsity basketball, and congratulations on a head coaching job.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this opportunity and ready to get to work with the girls.
You've been with coaching for quite a long time. I know that you were at Beech Grove. You were at Covenant one time on the boys' side, went to Beech Grove, got to work with a good friend of ours, Matt English, and boy, what a great AD he was. But Andy Gossel now captured you as you spent a year at Carmel, a couple of years. What brought your attraction to Covenant Christian with the opening? And congratulations on taking that position.
Yeah, thank you. The first attraction was my wife and I, we live in Plainfield, so it was a little bit closer to home than Carmel. And I've had a desire to be a head coach for a while now. And being somewhat familiar with Covenant, obviously coaching with Coach Flatt back in 2005, I was somewhat Covenant. I know they've had a lot of success recently. They've won about 6 sectionals in a row, I think. I know a few years back they made it to the state semi-state and state finals. So coming into a program like that was exciting for me, and I'm ready to take on that challenge and hope to continue to build on the success that they've had.
No pressure about winning 6 sectionals in a row. No pressure at all, right?
No, none at all. None at all.
Well, Indiana SRN will help you through all those things. We'll try to help you lift up your hands as much as we can.
I'll need all the help I can get.
Talk a little bit about, I know you're a phys ed teacher. You're not going to be in the school. So a lot of coaches now are outside the school. How difficult that is that, Dan, to not be in the school and not see your kids day in, day out as a student? Does that hurt you a little bit, or is there enough time during the season that you get to understand the kids and their routine?
Yeah, I do think it can be difficult to manage that, and I think relationships are a huge part of being a coach and being a leader of a team. So developing those relationships is huge. And I think, and one of the things I learned this year, it's just about being intentional, about taking the time to spend with the girls whenever I get the opportunity. This year at Carmel, it was spending time and after practice, just getting a chance to talk to them a little bit, or before games. And then obviously in the off season, there's always a lot of things that you can do to start developing those relationships. And that's something that I hope to do once we're allowed to be in contact with the girls. So.
Okay, I got to do this because it leads me to my next question. So,
I-O.
There, grew up in Toledo. Talk a little bit about playing basketball. In fact, it says on my sheet here, you're an outstanding basketball player. Tell us a little bit about your career.
I'm not sure. That might be over-exaggerated a little bit. I'm not sure I was an outstanding basketball player. But I actually grew up in Toledo as well. So I went to Emmanuel Christian High School there, a small school. I enjoyed my time there. Love my coach, Coach Dave Vernier. Was a outstanding coach and kind of a mentor and a great example, not only to me, but to all those players there. and loved my time playing there. I was a great shooter. That's about the only thing I can really claim to be great at as far as basketball goes. But I did have a chance to play when I was there. I played with my brother, who was a year older than me. So that was a great experience, and also played with a guy by the name of Lionel Armstead, who's actually now the head coach at my high school at Emmanuel. But he went on to play at West Virginia. So we had a decent team my junior year when I was there at Emmanuel. So.
Well, there you go. There's the history of Coach. Talk a little bit about as being an assistant with Carmel this year. Had a great year. You ended up at 15-8, but man, you guys played a tough schedule. Aaron has been a good friend of ours on the network. I know we had you a couple times this year on webcast and also a couple times on internet radio. Talk a little bit about that season and seeing really good basketball players, and you got to play against Miss Basketball. That's got to help you develop your kids a little bit as well when you start this new program.
Yeah, just looking at Covenant's schedule, I was going through and I noticed how tough their schedule was this past year for a 2A school, and it made me think a little bit about my time at Carmel. And one of the things we talked about, Aaron and I talked about, was just how tough our schedule was. And honestly, going into that year, being on the boys' side for so long, I didn't really know what to expect up at Carmel. You hear all these things about Carmel and how great it is, and it was an amazing year for me with the team and with the girls. Their schedule is just so tough. There wasn't a night where you could relax. It was constant. You had to be prepared. You had to prepare the girls. You had to be prepared as a coach. And I think that, going through that season has kind of helped me understand a little bit about what it's going to take to prepare the girls night in and night out for the schedule that we'll face.
Go ahead, Dan. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It was great. It was a great experience working with Erin. She does a great job with the girls, and I'll definitely miss them, but also excited for this next opportunity for me.
You talk about the tough schedule. You look at Covenant's schedule as it's not been developed yet to completion, but you look at the Circle City Conference, you have Buff, Garin Catholic, Heritage Christian, Chittard, and Roncalli. Some really tough competition. Roncalli good every year. Heritage Christian off and on last year, but year after year after year has been very, very good. But I tell you what, from the top to the bottom, every night's going to be a war for anybody in that conference.
Yes, yeah. And, we didn't play Roncalli up at Carmel, but I know, like you said, they have a good program. Stan Benj has been there for a few years and did a really good job over there. So I know they'll be tough. And obviously Heritage still has the Wiggins girl. So, and then the other schools with Chittard and Buff and Garin, there's no night off. So that'll be a challenge, but it's fun. That's exciting for me to take on that challenge, and hopefully me and my assistants will do our best to get the girls ready to take on that challenge.
You look at the record at 17-9 this year, and a lot of people said, well, they had 9 losses, but of those 9 losses, a lot of those losses was 3 points or less. So you combine that, and that's a very strong. You make those all wins. You're only having 4 losses on the year, and pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. 17-9. I think most coaches would take that along with the sectional championship. So I mean, nothing to be should be very proud about that.
I coached this game for 10 years. If I just had 7 wins every year, I was happy. We're going to take a 2-minute break. When we come back, a lot more with Dan Neitz, the new basketball coach at Covenant Christian. Is the girls basketball coach. We will be back with him in just 2 minutes. Stay with us.
It's coming. It's coming. IPSathletics.tv. High school sports on the World Wide Web. Every big game on IPSathletics.tv. Football, volleyball, basketball, and much more. Coming this fall, IPSathletics.tv. Let the games begin.
Hey everybody, it's Coach from Indiana SRN. Don't forget to listen to Sportszone every day right here, 11 to 12 noon Eastern. Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
It's been said the night is always darkest just before the dawn. Maybe you can relate right now. But make no mistake about it, a new day is dawning. Opportunity and promise are on the horizon for all of us. And just like in high school sports, we'll trust honesty, empathy, hard work, and humility to bring out the best in us and show us the way. The IHSAA will look for you at a high school game or meet very soon.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Chimney Solutions, Indiana, 317-757-6979. The team here at Chimney Solutions travels throughout the Indianapolis area, making chimney and fireplace maintenance as easy, affordable, and stress-free as possible. Whether your chimney system is in need of a simple sweeping or some major repair work, you can count on the Chimney Safety Institute of America certified team at Chimney Solutions to take great care of you. Call us today at 317-757-6979. Chimney Solutions, Indiana.
Back on the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, Keith Myers, Dan Neitz joins us. He's the new Covenant Christian girls basketball coach. As you step in and now you're the newbie, that means you get nominated to do all kinds of other stuff. So what are you going to be doing during the fall season? Are you going to be supporting the girls volleyball team, watching the football team? Football team could be really, really good, as Coach Dan is now the new football coach. So a lot of new developments for the west side of Indianapolis and the Covenant Christian Warriors.
Yeah, definitely hope to make it out to volleyball, some volleyball games and football games as well. My nephew Trey and Tony both are on the football team, so the family and I like to get out there for a few games a year, and I think it's important just to be supportive of all the other sports that go on over at Covenant, and not just basketball. So
Talk a little bit about the relationship that Covenant Christian and Indiana SRN has had. We've been with that school now for 10 years. Andy Gossel started with us as we developed this program. What have you heard? I know that we know each other from Beech Grove a little bit, but what have you heard? And are you excited about getting a lot of your games not only on internet radio, but also some of those games on web TV? That's got to be really helpful for your program.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'm very appreciative of just the coverage from you guys. Whether it's on the webcast or the radio. But I think it's exciting to have that coverage. I think it's exciting for not only the girls, but the other teams as well, to have that kind of coverage. So people, outside of the school can kind of see what we're about and see us play and watch us do something that we all love to do.
One of the things that Coach says, yeah, I love the coverage, but I don't like it that everybody gets to see me on a Tuesday night so they can scout me pretty easily. So you got to take the grain with salt of that. But, worldwide, but also statewide, a couple of games have just been solo games. And those are huge because thousands of people watching Covenant Christian, and they really saw a good team this year. And you're expecting to build on the talent that you have left, and you got some nice freshmen I hear coming in as well.
Yeah, honestly, I do not know what I have coming in. I'm excited about it, but I do know some of the girls returning. There's few juniors that are going to be seniors next year that I'm excited to have back. And I know there were 3 or 4 sophomores and some freshmen that contributed this past year. So, I mean, if there's freshmen coming in too, that'd be great. But I'm excited about the ones that I know about right now. So I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait to get to work with them.
As we wrap this up, Dan, who would be your greatest role model?
Oh man, probably my greatest role model would be my college basketball coach, Mike Schau. He obviously I went to play basketball out of Baptist Bible College out in Pennsylvania. I played out there for 4 years, and just had a tremendous influence on my life. And he was a coach. He's kind of how I've modeled my kind of coaching philosophy around his. And he, while he cared about basketball and cared about us winning and playing as hard as we can, but he cared more about the guys on the team and invested in their lives. Had us over to his house, so we were able to see how he was, how he raised his family, and how he was a husband and father. So it was good to be around that and good to have that influence in my life.
Dan, I appreciate your time. I know you're very busy this morning, but thank you so much for taking some time joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the fall during volleyball and basketball and football season, and then see you on the hardware this year as well. Looking forward to having a nice little relationship with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Keith. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to more conversations in the future.
You bet. As we wrap up today, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll be back tomorrow. So on behalf of Jerry Collins and the rest of the Indiana SRN crew, have a nice day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody.
Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.